The Reality Podcast. Real conversations about life, love, and business. With me, Jason Rhee. This is The Reality. Hi, everyone, and thank you for listening to The Reality Podcast. I'm here with Amanda Suk, not Suck, right?
Because America. But if you're Korean, it's Suk.
It's Suck. Amanda Suk. Thank you for being here, Amanda Suk. Amanda and I have known each other.
I just got triggered by all the times I got made fun of when I was a child.
That's what I wanted to avoid. But
it's okay.
Also, maybe we should bring it out. Maybe we can actually talk about it today.
Maybe I'll find some healing.
Maybe. That's the idea of the Reality Podcast.
Is it?
I think so.
Do people come on here and find healing?
I don't know.
I'd like to hope so.
You tell me. Comment below and let us know. I am so happy that you're here. You are an amazing, extraordinary dancer, which that is how I met you, but you are also an actress. You are also a self-published children's book author of the book. Is it a book?
It's a book.
Call it?
Yeah.
Life Lessons with Libra Ryan.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Life Lessons with Libra Ryan.
Well, it started as this random character that I made up for YouTube back when I had some short desire to be a YouTuber, I guess. I don't know what I was doing, but I thought it was going to be funny because I really love bad dancing.
Yes.
Like just going full out and being like wild. And I think a lot of times people take themselves so seriously and like, you know, you show up to like a wedding perhaps and like people expect you to like get down on the dance floor, especially if they know you're a dancer.
Yes.
So like I love to just break that mold because a lot of times too I feel like people want to be too cool, and so I'm just like, I don't know, I just love to go full out doing some wacky stuff. Can I say shit?
Yes, please.
Some wacky shit. And so yeah, this character, I like had this whole fit where it was this like thrifted plaid like maxi skirt, I guess.
Ooh.
And this cardigan, this white button down. I had these like framed glasses that don't have the lenses in it, and I used to always wear like a top knot, so it was just this whole look. And I would just go out in public and I would just like do some crazy wacky dancing in public. And then at first it started as tutorials, and then it just turned into like just, I don't know, random videos that, you know, I just don't have any, what's the word, consistency that it takes to be a YouTuber.
It seems hard. I'm new to this. So, I mean, you're telling me because I'm just starting.
It's a lot of commitment.
Yeah.
Like, I just did not have that kind of dedication or stamina to, like, constantly be making content like that. It's
yeah.
Like, so honestly, you know, and back then my roommate, she was a YouTuber, and I've seen like the behind the scenes work, and I think a lot of times people will make fun of social media influencers, but like the really good ones, they work their asses off. It's like, man, the kind of like dedication and diligence you have to make content that often and just churn it out, and you have to be disciplined because it's like it's your own schedule too. Like no one's telling you to do this.
Yeah.
You just have to be motivated to do it, and I was not.
Yeah.
And I learned that early on. So yeah, I used to make these YouTube videos and it filtered over to Instagram, and so I had this whole account for my character, and her name was Libra Ryan. And then after a while, it kind of died out on its own. But then this girl from Australia, she, I guess, somehow found me and was a fan and drew like this really cool sketch of Libra Ryan. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, right, this is a children's book character. I don't like the idea just immediately dawned on me as soon as I saw this illustration. And so I was like, I didn't know if this was going to be a thing, but I shot my shot and I DM'd her. I was like, hey, this is so random. Would you be down to do a children's book with me? And I literally like dreamt one night, and the entire book like just wrote itself for me because I wanted it to be kind of Dr. Seussy. I like the whole idea of this girl too was that she marches to the beat of her own drum.
Yes.
You know? And so I was like, wow, there's so many things that just make so much sense for me. Like, I never grew up having children's books with characters that looked like me. So, and this one literally was me, but you know, just Asian as like the central character. And then, you know, just to be able to also bring in someone, an illustrator who's also Asian. And then I don't know, I just like the words came to me. Everything just made itself so easy, I guess, and
Wow.
made so much sense. Yeah, and I wanted to be encouraging, and I like, you know, well, at the time I want to say she was 3 years old, but my niece, who's now 6, so this book's been out for a while now, but my niece who's 6, like she just reminds me so much of this character. She's
Yeah.
like so fearless and just loves to do her own thing. And yeah, I was just like, this is perfect for girls or boys or whoever or however you identify for that age.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
What a great mantra. But also, I mean, it's inspirational because you were able to create something, and it was created from obviously something that you were doing that may not have fully panned out, like this YouTube channel. But I think that's always the way that magic happens, and you create art that way because you are an artist.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself right now more of a child book author over a dancer or an actress? Like,
Oh, no. Actor full on
Yeah.
is first and foremost.
yeah.
But then I've just always I like pegged this term for myself, but I called myself a creative nomad because I just like to do whatever feels good in the moment. And
Yeah.
so, for example, like I would have never considered myself a children's book author or like aspired to be one, but in the moment it just made sense, and
Yeah.
that's what drew me in, and so I spent time on that. And then with the book too, I worked with this producer on a different job, and he and his wife had a baby I want to say like 2 years ago, and I sent them a copy of my book, and then he also like got inspired and wanted to then option the book to turn into an animated kids series. And so I was like, great, because I was actually in the middle of trying to figure out, like, do I want to make an animated short to maybe
Yeah.
send to like film festivals? But he had the idea of turning it into a full series, and so I was like, yeah, because I was kind of like trying to figure out how I'm gonna find an animator anyway, and
Yeah.
he works with an animation studio, so just that came together on its own as well. And so like during the pandemic, we've been working on the pitch deck, and it's looking really, really cute.
That's
And
phenomenal.
I get to, you know, keep my illustrator on board as well, so we've been
Yeah.
Zooming with her while she just had her own baby during like the last, I think, oh gosh, she had her baby like 6 months ago. I could be lying about when it was, but it was very recent.
Yeah.
So here she is, like illustrating, working on this book, having a baby, this newborn, and like zooming in from Australia.
Yeah.
But it's been a whole journey, and it's helped us all have something to work on during like the height of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I can speak
Wait, okay,
English.
so are you going to voice Libra Ryan?
Yes, that would be the plan as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Because
Well,
I was voice acting or trying to for a
Yeah.
while. And so this was also like, everyone always talks about create your own opportunities. So this is my attempt at that.
yeah, I think that's amazing. I think that says so much about, I mean, and again, I think anyone that is in a creative space or an artist that is out there just doing, like, I think we in itself don't congratulate ourselves enough. Like, for you to be out here, and again, how long have you been, are you from LA?
I'm not from LA. I'm from St. Louis.
Oh,
Yep.
St. Louis. St. Louis?
Sure. No one from St. Louis calls it St.
Oh,
Louis.
okay.
But I get it because there's that musical Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yeah, I only know that from Jennifer Hudson mentioning it in Sex and the City movie.
She was in the movie?
She was in the movie, the first one. She played Carrie's assistant.
I definitely watched it and do not remember that whatsoever.
It's because they needed more people of color, I'm assuming, because that movie
Don't
was
they
the show.
always?
I know, and here we are. So, okay, so you consider yourself actor first. How has the last 2.5 years been for the industry? And like, I mean, okay, we've talked about like diversity, right? We talk about like representation, and you know, I'm a former actor, failed actor,
Oh, please.
but I feel like now there's more opportunity. Do you feel like there's genuinely more opportunity right now?
I get really hesitant to talk about this because I think there's a lot of differing opinions even within the Asian community.
Yeah.
But I will say, as of right now, and I feel like my opinion fluctuates, but as of right now, yes, I do think there are more opportunities as an Asian actor. But at the same time, and in a weird way, not really. Because I feel like networks and studios are definitely wanting to fill a certain quota, so to speak. So they're trying.
Yeah.
You know. Should I hold for sound?
Oh, I guess we can. I mean,
I would keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll just keep going.
Look, she's such a true professional here. True professional.
Hold for sound, please.
Hold for sound.
Hold for sirens. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, for the reason of like studios and networks not wanting to get canceled.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to now make it a little too on the nose, and it's not like a great look.
It doesn't feel
because,
genuine.
Like, yeah, it doesn't feel genuine. Like a lot of times that being because like when you're reading the breakdown or you're reading like the sides for an audition or you're reading the pilot or the script, like you can kind of tell in the writing that this is just like a check mark box that needs to be filled. And also that being said too, the reason I say yes, there are more opportunities, but also kind of not at the same time. There's room for more diverse actors, but at the same time, especially if you're Asian, or I mean, I'm gonna just speak for myself, but I feel like for at least the Asian community, it's kind of in this space where they don't want to take a newer faced actor. So for the Asian roles available, they would prefer a name actor of some sort, or who has like a ton, or maybe not a ton, but like a bunch of credits. So I always kind of call it like the catch-22 of like restaurant work, you know, when you're first trying to get your that first server job. Every restaurant's always like, oh, well, we want someone with a year to 2 years of serving experience. And it's like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm willing to learn.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do the thing and show you that I'm great.
Yeah.
But I need the restaurant,
the opportunity
to take that chance and be the restaurant that's going to give me my first year of experience.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
So it's like, yeah, it's this weird catch-22, I feel like.
Yeah.
So yes. I mean, it's a yes and no. It's
Yeah.
a very long answer.
I mean, it's interesting because, like, again, I would say that I gave up my dream of acting because of how grueling it is. It definitely was more grueling. But then I thought, like, oh, starting a business with no money in the bank is also a great idea. But somehow after years and years and years and years, you know, I've kind of built a business, right? And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's maybe this long game thing if you just got to keep going, but also it's probably very tough to constantly be around rejection and also see others. Because again, like my dream was to be the first Asian on SNL. And
sorry,
I know Bowen Yang, like shout out to Bowen Yang, who's
awesome.
He's amazing and so talented, so funny, and you know, and I used to watch his videos before I even knew that he was an SNL. I didn't even know he was a writer until, but I had seen his like lip sync videos and like, but that was my dream, to be the first Asian. And then again, when I think about how long it took for Bowen Yang to finally become a cast member, and to know that it took however many years of Saturday Night Live to get an Asian person to be on the main, you know, as one of the ensemble or the main characters, I think is a little disheartening. But I think, you know, I don't know. I struggle with this optimism thing where I'm like, hope that there's change.
Right.
And that's what fuels me to, again, make content and continue to go on this platform. But again, like in 2 years, if I'm still like chugging along, you know, I don't know if I would still have the same energy. But I do have to say, like, the fact that there's more representation, I don't know, even like the Crazy Rich Asian effect, like we saw in the industry, like as soon as that movie came out, like everybody was like, okay, we need more Asian content, we need Asian people, we need Asian people. And I think that was really great, but I also don't know if that like plateaus at some point. And
Yeah, I think it already has in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The industry is such a funny,
Yeah.
funny place.
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't want to like try to even attempt to speak for the Asian community because again, I think
we are part of that community.
Yeah, we're part of it, but I think like at the same time we all have quite different experiences and opinions, and I also don't want to like I don't want to sound like I have a chip on my shoulder because I am well aware that I do get many opportunities.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is also just like you said with your business, you just have to put in the hard work and the time, and it does eventually happen. But yeah, there are some things that I do think can be better for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the industry, and this is for, I think, any sub community. It's always going to like ebb and flow, and like it, because it also kind of follows pop culture and also mainstream news.
Yeah.
So depending on what's going on in the real world will also pseudo reflect what we might see and what is in demand.
Yeah.
So like that's to be expected as well.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna lean into the fact that I'm Korean and K-pop is on the rise.
I mean, there is, excuse me, there were, like, I remember there was a time where so many writer and director friends of mine were telling me that like studios were asking for K-pop specific content. I mean, there's also that Rebel Wilson movie. I don't know if you saw this or have heard about this, but there's this Rebel Wilson movie coming out about K-pop. I can't remember what the actual storyline is.
I love how the movie's about K-pop and it stars Rebel Wilson.
Well, Rebel Wilson and Charles Melton.
Oh.
But still also not full Korean.
I know.
And I'm sure there will be, you know, I'm sure there will be like full Koreans in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the two.
That's actually a really good example of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and those are the two. But like, you know, Charles Melton is a name actor. And again,
absolutely,
like,
yeah. But didn't he also, I mean, I don't want to, didn't he get canceled?
No, I don't think so. For what?
I don't think he said something bad.
Did he?
Is Charles Melton the guy that, like the hot dude?
I mean, subjectively, sure. I'm like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is a hottie. But I know.
Who is a hottie to you, other than your fiance?
That's Asian?
Yeah.
I will say I met Daniel Henney recently.
Oh.
And he's a very handsome man.
Yeah.
But I think there's also something to be said about his.
Oh, here he is. Oh, yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
I think he got canceled.
Did he get canceled for something?
I think he said something. I think he like Me Too'd somebody or something. No.
Oh man.
Can you Google that really
I'm
quick?
very behind on those kinds of.
Oh, she's cute. I like her.
News. But yeah, so he. I mean, again, so he is a name actor.
Oh, he was accused of just fat shaming.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So like, you know,
and he's starring opposite
Rebel Wilson, who has lost a lot of weight. But here's the thing, like, I think a lot of times we forget that still this industry is a business, and like
totally
people have dollar signs over their heads. So like you have to figure out, like, is this name gonna get people to watch this movie?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the unfortunate part about like maybe what I remember, you know, when I used to wait tables, I had this really big moment where Christian Slater's mother was at a table, and she's apparently known to be like a pretty big. Christian Slater's mother was like a big like industry person.
Okay, because I was gonna say, how did you know what his mother looked like?
Well, because I worked at a restaurant in LA that was like we knew all the celebrities, right?
Okay.
And she had asked if I had an agent, and then she was like, you should have an agent." She was like, "You need to have an agent," and oh, is it the TV?
Yeah, do you have that center one?
Sorry.
Oh my gosh, Project Runway. I wasn't a big fan of that season, though.
Can you see this?
No, you can't.
Okay, great. But yeah, so she was one of the guests that was eating, and she had asked me if I had an agent. I said no, but I said I wanted one, and I was like crushing it. By the way, like I was crushing that table. Like I was hitting all the service points, like making all the jokes. Like she was so happy, and then she connected me to a big agent at I think one of the big agencies. I can't remember. It was in Santa Monica, and she's connected me with this agent and got me a meeting. And I was so nervous that I tried to prepare 3 monologues, like didn't even know what the fuck I was doing. went to the meeting and literally walked into the room and he didn't even look at me. He like didn't look at me, asked me one question or two questions. Like, I don't think he even asked me a question. I think I actually walked in. It felt like, and I could be wrong because I may have blacked it out from trauma, but it felt like I walked in and he didn't even turn around and then I left. It was a very, very like high-low moment because she was so excited about connecting me to somebody and that somebody didn't see the value of me. And again, they're lost because look how great I'm doing.
But that's the thing, like, everything's so subjective. Like, I've had a manager, like, tell me once, because I remember there was this, like, villain role for some CW show that I had seen on a breakdown. And I was like, oh, I really want to, like, try to get seen for this. Yeah. And she straight up, and this is my own manager, she straight up told me, not my current, I love my current manager.
Shout out to your current manager.
Joni Burstein.
Yes. Are you representing any quirky, comedic, stocky 30-something Asian men?
Maybe. I should ask. But what's it called? Yeah, she was like, I think casting really wants, like, drop-dead gorgeous, like, models. And you're just so cute and quirky. I was like, cool. Okay, so.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I get, like, I know she was trying to be nice about it, and I understand, because CW has a very, like, specific, like, I mean, look at everybody on Riverdale. Very glossy look.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Sure, I may not be that, but, like, also as my manager, maybe try and let casting be the ones to tell me that, hey, maybe. Because, again, subjectivity.
Yeah, totally,
like,
totally.
I personally don't think Charles Melton is, like, you know, hot. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Not.
But, like, other people obviously do. And so, like, I don't know, just, like...
Well, no, it's also, like, personal preference. So it's like really hard to... I mean, and that's kind of maybe where gauging your value based on, like, an industry that is all... Looks, but also, like, it's chance. There's relationships. And now there's... Does following matter, too? Like, having an influence?
Not on the same... level as I think a lot of people thought it did. And then there's also,
didn't last.
There was a period of time that maybe it did, and I think it can still come into play because it doesn't hurt to, like, if you don't have a ton of credits but you have a huge following. I mean, everything's currency these days, unfortunately. And so, like, I mean, if they happen to see that and, like, want to capitalize on that, I'm sure it doesn't hurt, you know? But I don't think, like, that's something that you need to put on your, like, if you have it on your resume, I don't think that's what's going to get you an audition necessarily. Unless, like, you have a blue check mark, then that's a whole nother story.
Oh, how do we get a blue check mark?
Girl, I've been trying.
Who's think I gotta suck to get a blue check mark? Okay,
Shout
so
out to Instagram, anybody there?
I know, right?
It
it was API, so if you can support Asian people and Asian hate by giving us blue check marks, that would be amazing. Do you think your ability to, like, your skill of dance has helped in the fact that, like, dance has also become its own like, big platform? Yeah, more than I feel like before.
I've tried to like, you know, push that in a lot of ways, but they've always just been very separate for me. I don't know why. So it's like I'll either get booked as a dancer but have no opportunity to, like, show that I can act, or I'll get booked as an actor, but it's not, like, in a dance related thing.
Oh, interesting.
But there's, like, been a lot of, you know, movie musicals have been a huge thing. There's just always, like, dance numbers randomly popping up in situations on TV and film now, but I don't know, I haven't gotten in for anything like that where I can really capitalize on being able to do both. I would love to. I would love to. I still love to dance, even though I'm not doing it as much anymore. So that would be really great, really fun. Anybody out there looking for actor, dancer / shower singer?
Ooh.
Could be a thing. I don't know.
Shower singing, I mean...
Listen, I'm not against whoring myself out right now because, again, your girl is currently unemployed, needs a job, also trying to get married, has been having some car trouble. It's a whole lot of things that I gotta pay for.
I mean, look, this is the reality. We're gonna get real, but let's delve into that. We're gonna go on a little break, and we're gonna talk.
Wait, before we break, have you watched Barry? Do you watch Barry?
I watch Barry.
Okay,
but I've only watched the first season.
Oh,
Are you on
I'm fully caught up, but watch the second season too. I really loved the second season, and just some of the stuff that you were telling me, especially about like going into this meeting and then having the agent just like completely look you over.
Oh yeah.
In Barry in the second season, it's the complete opposite where Barry is in the waiting room for this like huge like fake but resembling one of the major agencies because his girlfriend is in a meeting, and while he's in the waiting room, this guy comes up to him and is like, hey, how tall are you? And Barry like says his height, and he's like, hey, I think I might have a part for you, and then like becomes repped by this major agency. And it's just like funny because it's like extreme for TV but also not like totally uncommon,
far-fetched. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's like the old Hollywood dream, I think, though. Like being discovered.
Yeah.
Which,
and then discovered and developed.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to do either of those anymore.
We'll be right back. I think I need to find a better. Would you like your commercial on the Reality Podcast? Please make sure to do it with me. Oh, that's not good.
Jason Rhee.
I was waiting for that.
Because you like said it in the same exact way.
Please give me your money so I could advertise your business. Commercial. Here. Ad. Do. Okay. We are back. Now, right before we went on break, you kind of went into this new chapter that you're currently in right now. And
My demise?
Yeah, I don't want to exploit it, but at the same time, that is why this podcast is so important to me, because I really do think that we can help people just by having real conversations. So if you feel comfortable.
Listen, pain is comedy. Comedy is pain.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
And sometimes people are not ready for my trauma, but please share.
This isn't trauma. This is just
a life situation.
A string of bad luck.
Well, that means that if it's a string of bad luck, that means that the upswing is coming.
Maybe, but the string is more like less a string, more a rope.
Ooh.
And
wait.
You know, like those like workout ropes that are really heavy.
Yeah. With like and then you get splinters.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm being thrashed on the ground over and over again by this heavy, long ass rope.
Okay, what is that rope?
It's just collection of bad luck happenings.
Yeah.
I am waiting for that upswing, hoping it happens.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember like where it all began. I mean, I don't know, like firstly, I've just been unemployed and I've been trying to find work, but I like made this commitment to myself like, hey, you did your time in food and bev. Let's see if you can find something else.
Yes.
That being said, food and bev is a very common job for actors and musicians for a reason. You know, it's flexible. It's probably the most amount of like livable wages you can make because of tips. And but like in addition to feeling like I have put in my time, I also just physically am getting older, and it's really hard for me to be on my feet for those long shifts.
Yeah.
So I was hoping I could get something where I could take breaks and sit down. But I mean, maybe I'm just being weak. I don't know. Maybe
no, I don't
I'm
think you're weak. I think
excuses for myself.
Look, I've waited tables for years, and I mean, I don't want to say it with like God's work, but it is. If you care and you show up and you actually like do a good job, it is very, very soul sucking.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing. I'm such a people pleaser, and I know that about myself. So, like, I really go above and beyond.
Yeah, and then you take it home with you.
Yeah, and I try to make sure everybody has, like, I always felt like I was a great server. I met so many wonderful people.
Yeah.
I enjoyed,
we have a few of your tables here, if they can just...
No, I genuinely, like, I had a fun time when I served.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not just that it's soul sucking, and I will say the kitchen is a pretty toxic place.
It's so scary. Approaching a line is like the most terrifying thing ever.
I mean, and I don't know, like I have had my fair share of like very uncomfortable, questionable, like both like just aggressive mannerisms that don't make me feel welcomed or safe. I've had like It's so funny because like while my tables love me, like the kitchen is just such a stressful place that like you like if you are not perfect, I've had so many cooks or chefs like borderline like be aggressive.
Oh, okay.
And or just sexually harass me.
Okay, I've not been sexually harassed, but I actually maybe I have been because calling like somebody gay or is that sexual harassment too? Does that qualify?
I mean, it like what's the context?
Well, like making me feel unsafe. But I mean, there was a time where I worked at a restaurant in LA. Shout out to The Bazaar by Jose Andres. And when I got promoted to this event manager role, but I had brought too many events on. So the kitchen would sharpen their knives in the parking lot as I walked to my car. Like things like that where I think there's this like idea that like, you know, and again, like I get it, like if you worked in a restaurant, there's like a chain, like a chain of power. And like, you know, that there's a chef and it's like if you're approaching his kitchen but like some of the behavior of these cooks and like some of the other chefs that used to treat me the way they did, like when I look back on it now, it was completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is yet to kind of be called out yet is like restaurant culture and how.
Well, there's this new show on Hulu.
Bear.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard incredible things.
I had to stop watching it.
It's
because,
too triggering?
Well, the first 15 minutes was really intense, and I just wasn't in that space for it. And not that I'm like, I mean, look, I've been through many traumatic things, but I do think that like, I think working in a restaurant is probably one of the best life skills, and I think everyone in high school should work in a restaurant. It should be part of your curriculum to be a good person. But I also feel like addiction and so many things have stemmed from restaurant culture. Like that's where my addiction came from, but I think it was perpetuated in that environment. And I think, you know, I just think that again, like any environment where you have testosterone filled male energy that's like being celebrated is kind of my non-safe space. But as I am still in hospitality, so I'm constantly around it. Yeah. And I approach a kitchen in a very respectful way. I will never walk into a kitchen and like, you know, gallivant around like.
Oh yeah, never.
But I think that's something that you learned in a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, and but I've never been. I don't think I've ever been sexually harassed because again, as a male and even as a gay male, we have some privileges. I never felt like I was being. But I mean, no, actually, no. Because even when I think about Cheesecake Factory, I remember like the busters used to like, you know, be like, mi pito en tu culo. Like I'm going to fuck you in the ass. And like everybody would laugh and it would be kind of a funny thing. But at the same time, if you look at it, it's like, wait, that shit is like inappropriate.
Yeah, like not okay.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that like, and that's the problem, I think, especially going into any restaurant or like family. There will be things that get tossed around as jokes. And so to not like be that one person
that's like, hey,
that's not funny, you know, like you just kind of laugh along with it because it's like you just try to like, you know, kind of camouflage yourself rather than like be that one person again that just sticks out like a sore thumb, like, oh, she has no sense of humor, you know? So, I mean, here's the thing. I even worked as a caterer.
Yeah.
When I tell you nothing is below me, I've done my
we've all paid our dues.
Yeah, and so like, you know, and even as a caterer, especially in like that space, there's a lot of sexism, and I think this is actually part of why like my back is probably kind of messed up. I think there's a lot of times I wanted to like go against the grain, so like they would always separate, like, girls, you guys are gonna cut the lemons and limes while the guys like do all the furniture moving and heavy lifting, and I used to be so like, why do we always have to cut the lemons and limes? Like, we're not weak little things, like we can help out. And so I would try to prove everybody wrong and like lift all these heavy things and, you know, show off basically. Yeah. And like guys would always come in and be like, oh, let me help you. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I got it. And like back then I really thought I did, but now I guess I'm kind of feeling the pain from all those years of heavy lifting.
But that's actually really interesting because for me, on the opposite end of it, when I work, there are times that I technically feel bad to ask one of my female assistants to move something over one of my male team members. Like, but also I think I do the opposite I kind of do the same thing where as a gay man, I feel like people underestimate me. So I'm like broing out and I'm like wilding out on things and like all of a sudden I'm like talking deeper and like going to like the straight poker nights or whatever. Cause I feel like I have to like keep up with this like idea, I don't know. I think that's part of it. But I mean, it's exhausting. The restaurant world is exhausting. It's taught me a lot of good things. But I think when I was also auditioning and waiting tables, I don't know. There was something about that combination that was really tough.
Yeah,
And
I mean, that's the soul-sucking part of it.
Yeah.
Because you're, like, working your ass off, but then also, like, you have this dream, and you feel like you have to do this thing.
Yeah. Oh, God, there's a fly in here.
It's okay. That you have to do this thing in order to make this dream happen.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, you're doing all this hard work for a purpose.
Yeah.
And, like, it feels like, you're hustling, you're grinding. But at the same time, it's like every minute that goes by while you're in this restaurant, you're also hyper aware that you're not on set, not like doing the thing that you're like dreaming for. And
but also in this city, that's majority of the environment, right?
Yeah.
It's all actors.
Yeah, and you're in constant, like, as much as you are told don't compare, as much as you don't want to compare, it's like inevitable because you're surrounded by other entertainers who are or are not booking.
Yeah.
So like you either have people who encourage the comparison because like they're also in the same boat as you and like, misery loves company. And so like that kind of starts to breed upon itself. But then there's also like the people that you do see. A lot of times your peers, like you have to cover people's shift because they like booked something.
Yeah.
And so like you're
excited
like,
for them.
You're excited for them, but it's like, man, will I ever be in the situation where I'm not covering everyone else's shift, but someone has to cover mine? I mean, it was fair. Like again, I'm sounding like I have never booked a job. Like it's gone.
Yeah,
both
no, we've
ways.
seen you. We've seen you.
But I totally understand the compare and despair of it all. I don't.
I don't know.
Easier.
I think that's kind of and maybe that's the reward of pursuing a dream or pursuing something that is not what anyone else can pursue. Because at some point it's gonna work, right? Like at some point.
You like to think so, but this is the thing again. Like, it's always a climb, I guess you could say. I've had plenty of friends who have found some level of success, but like, regardless of whatever big job you book, there's always going to be like a new set of problems that arise.
Yeah.
Like, and your next job's not always guaranteed.
Totally.
And so, yeah, I'm well aware that when you choose this life, it is a like constant drive.
Yeah.
Depending on how much you want it, And then I think you do get to a certain place where like you are successful enough that you can control when and where you take your breaks. But there's been plenty of, I was reading that whole story about the girl who plays Lily in Princess Diaries. And like I think, I don't know like the specifics. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but like, she books this huge blockbuster movie, but she wasn't booking jobs left and right after that movie. And she like, I think at a certain point she like, was driving Lyft again and like doing all these odds and end jobs. I don't know if I'm using that phrase correctly, but yeah. And then she, I think, started getting a resurgence like later in her life as like an older woman and starting to book some smaller roles again.
Yeah.
But like that was after or in between, like there was this huge gap of time and space where it's like, am I like, what happened,
Yeah.
And
maybe that's
so-
like the development though, right? Like maybe it's not, and again, we don't see like when you see the come up, right? Like when you see the starlet that just blows up or like, and again, I've seen even with like the Amy Schumer or like when you begin to see them blow and then they like get their thing, but we don't like also know too much about what was going on before that, the many, many years that they suffered or struggled. And so I'm wondering, is that where maybe where you're feeling like you're in right now? You're about like the precipice
listen,
of blowing up?
I don't know what this is right now. I felt like this past year, especially because I've had quite a few close calls and, a lot of people that are close to me have seen the work that I've been doing, and there's been a lot of people who's been like encouraging me
Yeah.
and also really feeling with me that like that next job is right around the corner.
Yeah.
I've just felt like this is a very large corner that
Yeah.
I'm turning. So I don't know. But in the meantime, like I think what I have learned is at least in the beginning of my career, I was so obsessed with acting, and like it was all I wanted and dreamt about, and it just was like all consuming, and I thought it had to be in order for me to get anywhere in this industry. But I think like the longer I've been in it, I've learned that like living your life is equally, if not more important. And so this space and time that I've been forced to have has also again kind of forced me to actually just live my life and figure out what that looks like for me,
which is kind of freeing in a way.
Yeah, because like again, you never know what your next job's gonna be, especially in this day and age when things are getting canceled left and right.
I know.
And so yeah, nothing is guaranteed in that sense. So like if you have your like the things that you love to do in life, like if a job falls through, your entire, like, yes, you're going to grieve and mourn, but your entire life doesn't plummet with it because you didn't make your entire identity like
that thing.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I think that's the space I'm in right now,
is
like finding out where, like, how do I exist and how do I enjoy existing without this, so that that this acting thing does not control every fiber of my being the way it used to, because I was just like all over the place emotionally and just constantly spiraling because like whether I got auditions or not, whether I booked jobs or not, like that dictated so much of like my self-worth, my identity, like just how I felt that day. And it was just so unhealthy. And I needed to be in a much more healthier, like physically and mentally space, just, you know, for my well-being overall. So
you're in that work right now.
Yeah, I would say so. But like, just, it doesn't help that while I'm in that work, I am also experiencing like, again, the like unemployment, trying to figure out how to afford to get married. Like, I mean, you can get,
you were newly engaged.
There's many ways to get married. I know this.
Which is also a celebration moment. That's a joyful moment.
But it's like, I've also found myself like not really being able to enjoy it because I have like literally no clue how to proceed with like a wedding. Because I also never really dreamt about a wedding when I was a kid. So I don't have like much inspiration or reference to pull from. And then like on top of that, I'm having like all this car trouble and just trying, like, car stress, as many people know, is just one of the
with
top,
the LA's cars
top
are
worst life stresses. So I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to be getting around for the next few weeks because, like, you know, everything else in this world, things are back ordered. So the part that I need for my car to be running, and a part that, like, literally I saw on Google apparently only takes like an hour or 2 hours to fix, will take up to 2 to 3 weeks because, again, the part's on back order. So I'm like, all right, but this isn't a thing covered by insurance. So me as an unemployed person, I'm trying to figure out, like, do I rent a car for 3 weeks? Because that adds up on top of having to pay out of pocket to get this thing fixed. I just, it's like been its own headache. And then on top of that, I'm like, you know, because I am getting married, it's like, where do we live?
Where do you start with that whole process? I mean, but I think that's, again, like, and again, I don't want to be like toxically positive in this conversation because it does sound like it's a pretty overwhelming place to be, which, again, I appreciate you sharing what that experience is like.
Life.
But I think it's kind of freeing in the sense that you now have essentially all of the time to figure it out, and also not I think that whole, like, step of you figuring out the acting, you know, with the acting thing, because again, that was, I think, what was so soul crushing for me, as I felt like a failure every time, and I would drive from Orange County to LA to do a 20-minute audition that took me 6 hours to get to and back, and then I would sit in that traffic, like, and it wasn't even my car, it was my mom's car at the time because I didn't have a car yet, and so I would, like, feel guilty for taking the car for half the day, but also just feel like absolute shit. But I think at some point something changes and things evolve, but also like, I don't know if this thing is like when all the bad things happen at once, that just means like it's clearing out for the year and then all the good stuff will come next. That's the hope.
Yeah, but I feel like, this is kind of an annual thing for me where like once a year, it's just a shitstorm for a while.
Yeah.
And like the good
Well, at least
stuff that happens.
it's once a year.
Yeah, but then like the good stuff that happens,
Yeah.
it's like a day of good stuff and then
Yeah.
it kind of just like cancels out pretty quickly. Like I pretty much break even.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think for me, I'm like hoping / waiting for like a potential breakthrough where it's like, okay, I was actually just journaling about this because like a lot of my like good shit that happens, it like literally just helps me to break even. So I'm like, all right, that got me to the next day, but like where's the breakthrough where it's like, okay, I feel good for like the next 5 years, like I have like
Is that even
forward-moving
possible
momentum.
though? Like
I don't know.
Who finds out what's going to be good for 5 years?
True. Or okay, then like then I'll just call it forward moving momentum.
Yeah.
Versus like, okay,
Progress.
there's a clear end date here.
Yeah.
Because like for example, and for me, I'm someone who like I do believe in God, and I feel like that's who's looking out for me. Because this whole thing with my ignition assembly happened. They quoted me at like $800 something, and that was with a discount because I like basically begged the guy at Honda, like, look, I'm unemployed. I don't know how I'm gonna pay for this. He's like, I've been there. Let me see how I can help you. So there's that, and then I at least needed like an immediate solution because they didn't have any loaner cars, so I like need an immediate solution for rental because there's several meetings and things that I have I couldn't reschedule this week that I already committed to. And so that's probably like an extra $75. I literally got a check in the mail on Tuesday from this old commercial I did that got reused for like $900 something, like exactly the amount that I need to be able to pay for this replacement and for a couple days of a car rental. And so like for me, that's a miracle check.
That's a sign.
Me,
yeah, but that's like a sign that you're you're on the right path.
But at the same time, it's like, yes, I know that like, God's taking care of me. But at the same time, I look at it, because this is how my brain works. I'm like, okay, cool. But that just got me to the next day because I still have lots of credit card debt, and like I have to pay like tax stuff. I have to pay for my car registration renewal.
Yeah.
I got to pay for contact lenses.
Yeah.
And that shit ain't cheap. Like there's just all this other stuff.
But maybe that's
that,
the way we have to look at it. It's like just the next day.
Yeah. Like how do I just get to the next day?
But I don't know how to do that either.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? What, like, does anyone know how to do life? Can you tell me how to do it? Because, like, I don't know. Lately, I'm like, I was just telling my fiance today, I was like, man, I don't know how to do this life thing. I don't. Like, right now, I don't think I've been doing anything right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, it's been a time.
Yeah. But so in this whole, like, life change, because that's what this is. This is a life change, right? It's a milestone.
Huge transition.
It's a huge transition moment. I'm kind of I'm excited to see where you're gonna be in a few months because I feel like it means something. It means something's gonna shift, right?
It has to.
It has to, because at this point you are at a point in your life where some of maybe the same things that have been happening, because this is not all new revelations to you, right? So it sounds like you're kind of in this new chapter where maybe you want more with your life, or you want something different, and it's going to shift. And I think that's really a fascinating thing to hear about. But I also, I don't know, part of me, like, I if anything, I feel like if you've made it this far, like, it'll just continue to evolve and grow, and you'll continue to just make it. And I think that's the bottom line, unfortunately, with any artist. It's like we have such a deep passion to do something greater with ourselves than just go and like get a 9 to 5 and do whatever to make the money and just be sufficient. You wouldn't be fulfilled. So it's like, what is the alternate?
That's the thing. Like I feel like I'm still kind of in a place where a lot of things that I'm doing are just like a means to an end.
Yeah.
And I am hoping and working for something beyond that.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, I think most people would love to, but that's just not like, 'cause like I am well aware that even like the situation I'm in right now, like to get to have these complaints because I'm trying to become an actor, like that in and of itself is like, I know that that's like a very like, I mean, I obviously have had help from my parents to be able to even get to pursue this and come this far. So yeah, I'm well aware of that. But at the same time, like,
it's it doesn't take away the experience of how shitty it is.
Yeah. And like, cause they're not like, you know, there's zero nepotism here. I don't just have some like famous like producer uncle.
Your parents didn't invent chopsticks?
No, unfortunately, they're just like in the Korean mafia through like. No.
At least they're in the Korean mafia.
I always wondered if they were though. I mean, my dad did have a chain of dry cleaners when we were growing up, and I like.
Well, did you work in the with your first job?
Oh yeah, I was like child labor, man. I was helping my. Well, here's the thing.
What was your first paycheck?
Oh. Abercrombie and Fitch.
You worked at Abercrombie and Fitch?
Oh, listen, this is a whole nother podcast. When I tell you how white I tried to be in high school, because I thought that was like,
I mean, that's where we can relate, because I used to wear Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh no, same. Like, but I thought that was like the marker in life to prove that you were one of the cool kids.
Yeah.
And, like, you fit in. You know, so I was a Abercrombie and Hollister girl. Actually, I think I worked at Hollister first. So I was at Hollister first, and then I went to Abercrombie. I loved
Hollister too.
Yeah, and so it's like, oh, I'm like how much more American can I get? You know?
Where did you said St. Louis?
Yeah,
St. Louis.
Yeah. So that was my first paid job, but I was helping my parents out the cleaners as early as like 8 or 9. I don't know. I would go after school, and then like especially with customers coming in, I would help them at the front desk, because a lot of times too, like, you know, my parents were still learning English at the time. Not that they were bad, but it was pretty broken. So I was able to help with customers. I did a lot of like the tagging, the clothes. And, you know, just organizing things. I never worked like the machines or anything. It was all like front of house stuff. But yeah, that was like my first job for free.
Yeah.
and then later on in high school was Hollister and Abercrombie. But that was its own, like, there's probably a lot of things I would have to work out with my therapist. And
did you watch the documentary, the Abercrombie documentary?
No, I don't need to
you lived it?
Yeah, I lived it. I don't need to go back and like, I remember, I think I even got in like the mail some kind of lawsuit, like there was like a giant lawsuit against Abercrombie.
Yeah, that's I think like, what the documentary
so
was talking about.
They like sent out like, you know, when like I feel like phone companies, like when they get hacked, they like do like a mass like mail thing to people who were a part of or had a plan during those like X amount of years. So like I fell within like the years that Abercrombie was being sued for by whatever collective of employees, former employees.
The documentary was like fascinating, but it's definitely my personal experience too.
Yeah, I like that's all in the past. I don't need to. I know very well what that was all about.
So okay, aside from your upcoming wedding, which is going to be fabulous, what and aside from, again, because you are about to potentially have a kids show / you know, it can. There's so many different things that can come from it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a year from now, we could look back at this podcast and give ourselves a little chuckle and be like, "Hey, remember when we said?"
As we both are like Botox this shit, and we're like, "Oh my god, remember when?"
Yeah, and then like a year from now, it's like I'm a series regular on some show or like in some movie, and it's just like, this was a time.
And then you'll send me a cease to not post this episode because you're like,
"Please take it down. I do not want to get canceled." But like there's already a bunch of mini clips that have already been recorded. That's what always happens, right?
Well, I mean, look, I think it's been really interesting to have the conversation where it's not just all rainbows and sunshine, and that isn't life. That's not below life. No, and I think I can't thank you enough for coming on and being as vulnerable and honest about what you're going through in this moment. And I really do know that we're going to look back on this and laugh in hilarity, because this is just a chapter.
Yeah, let's hope so. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like nothing to hide, because I know people are going through way harder stuff, and that's not to like discount again what I'm going through, but also too, like, I know a lot of people probably relate to being in the same boat with me. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I mean,
the more the merrier. But let's also, actually maybe not, because like let's all get out of this boat.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, and again, I always used to say that, like, I like to look for the band on Titanic. That is the type of people I want to look for, the people that are going to like not get on a lifeboat, but maybe play through the shit show. So I feel like that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
We're
that's the Libra Ryan in all of us.
Yes, Libra Ryan.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much. And I will put all the details below so you can check out the book. But also, I look forward to checking back in with you and seeing where everything goes.
Maybe it doesn't take a year. Maybe it's next week. Next week.
Bye.
Booked and blessed.
Ooh, wait, don't go yet. Make sure you subscribe and like and follow and transfer me via Venmo. Thanks for listening.